Hi, and welcome to us going live here at Studio TV. Thank you so much to everybody who's joining us now. I'm so excited about this, and we had such a good time last week. I can't wait to actually start to chat this through with you too. But we're going to be chatting about how you can run a live virtual open evening, and even better, it doesn't have to cost you anything, which is a bonus. So I'm joined by Xavier Bowers, Xav, who is
Hi,
head teacher. Hi. Are you well, sir? Are you doing okay, Xav? Are you all right?
I'm very well.
Yeah, he's all right.
Right,
He's slightly slow there. No, you're back. You're all right. How are you, Sue? Yeah. Sue is also partnerships manager. Is that the right title?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm so grateful for this. So last week we did our kind of first. For your school, together we did a live virtual open evening. It was fun. We had fun, didn't we?
It was for me.
So, Xav, tell us a little bit, Xav, about how you felt about the whole thing as head teacher, because you're very well known as being hugely technically proficient and awesome.
I'd never describe myself as being technically efficient, Ian, that's for sure. This was all Sue's fault. Okay, I'm gonna set it as it is. She came to me way back now, probably Easter time, when clearly as a result of lockdown it was going to be unlikely that we were going to be able to hold our annual open evening in the traditional way. And the open evening for all schools, it's one of those key dates in your calendar that you've got to plan well in advance for and prepare and get it as right as you possibly can. But also, you got to, as well as sell your school, for us, it's got to be an authentic sell. It's got to be genuine. And every year the staff and the pupils that we use as guides take people around our school. And they're told, when you go around, there's no questions that you can't ask, which the children are told, be honest about the school, with that confident, really, that they're very proud of it, and we're very proud of them. So what we tried to do essentially was do exactly what we would ordinarily do on site, online, in a nutshell.
Wow.
And the structure of the evening was certainly condensed into an hour, because normally we start about is it about 5 o'clock, and people are still in the building about 9 o'clock. Okay. But normally we'd start with a short head teacher's address. Every year Sue reminds me how short my bit's got to be. Quite right.
Because ignored it.
I always and secondly, the visitors to school on open evening very much want to hear about the children who've just started. So we had the lovely Olivia, who've been in school a couple of weeks, and then the children that sort of been in here 12 months, like Declan, and the children that have been here most, year 11, who've been here 4 years and starting their last year. And then I think it's a nice balance to hear from families about their role in their child's education and the partnership between the school, and then to see for themselves how good the school looks like, how well cared for it is, how well looked after it is, how clean it is. And ordinary families would be taken on a guided tour, otherwise they get lost, by our year 11 prefects, and see for themselves and meet the staff. Now, the virtual open evening didn't allow us to meet all the staff, but certainly met some of them and got a flavour of what the school was like. So, in all, Ian, I was very apprehensive. I was nervous because I was conscious it was live.
It's a funny thing, isn't it?
It is, but it's also, I think, adds to the authenticity about it all. And what I would say to any head teacher, Ian, thinking about this is, when those questions come through and you really don't know what's coming next, just respond as if you would do to a parent in the school hall or on the corridor around the school. We'd do that as heads without even thinking twice. And that's certainly what I did prior to it. Just think, right, what would I say? Forget about the fact that thousands and thousands of people will probably be viewing it, and it's live, and there's no take one, take two, take three, is there? It's not going to the cutting room, Ian.
But I think that's why it was so successful, isn't it? Because you were yourself, and everybody that took part were just genuinely saying what they felt, and didn't have any kind of nerves and apprehension about it. So I think that's why it was so successful for us.
Yeah, one of my favourite bits of it was when, just in a bit, folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the platform that we use and show you how to do this. If you're thinking about doing something like this yourself, I'll talk you through it. But one of the things that happens is if you're live on whatever platforms you're on, so Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc., whatever you've got, people can comment and can ask questions. And what happened, which was, I don't know if you'd actually, so if you were stood up in the school hall and you were doing your speaky bits and your presentations out and you were doing that thing, and what was happening was people were commenting and agreeing with what you say, and then was it Mrs. Lowe, who is year 7 lead, pastoral lead, head teacher, head year, she obviously people think a lot of her. And while she was kind of talking and she came on to answer some questions, people were going, she's amazing. I've got a child in year 7, in year 8. She'll make your children feel really welcome. You can't replicate that any other way, can you? Can you? I don't, you can take your word for it, but actually parents saying it, wow.
That's true in an ordinary situation where Zav will be doing his presentation in the school hall. You don't get that immediate feedback, do you? No. People might come up to you afterwards with questions, but the actual, feedback from other parents is, can't be replicated other than as we did it last week and online.
It's amazing.
So it was great that way.
It was really amazing. I was blown away, and everybody who did stuff. So the students who were involved, like you say, right through from year 7, right up to year 11, they were brilliant. They just did their own bit. And it was really natural, and any bumps in the road, it just doesn't matter because it's real and it's live and it just feels good. So you did such an amazing job. What did you include in it then? Sue, maybe talk us just a little bit about what was the program.
What we decided before the summer when we came up, I came to you, didn't I, with an idea of I've seen some of your live sort of video chats with people, and I thought, I wonder whether that format could work in for an open evening. So that's when I had a chat with you, and we decided that we'd try and do something as we did. So RSLT had a chat, and we decided that we'd pre-record a couple of videos, just really so that we knew that that professionalism would come across, and we could set everybody up before the summer. So we did one video that showed the highlights of the facilities, and then another one about the ethos of the school, and involved quite a good number of the key staff in that. So we could plan the evening in quite a structured way, really. And as long as Zav kept to his time, we were okay then, weren't we?
The good thing is I had some control, actually, more control than you would have if you were stood at the front of the hall. I could just cut him off.
And she'll cough and say, thanks very much.
But I feel that's the best way to get an event to go ahead is to try and plan it as much as you possibly can and keep to those timings, and then it's stress free then, isn't it? And then it just seemed to all fall into place on the evening. The speakers that we had were great. They spoke from the heart, and the questions that came in were all relevant, and I think the timing as well was important. We didn't want it to be too long so that people got fed up and switched off. So I think it was just over an hour, wasn't it, in length?
Just over an hour, but it was all quite short, sharp chunks, apart from maybe the Q&A, which was a bit longer. But that was just a really good time of really just chatting, wasn't it? So it certainly didn't feel, I think that maybe have got up to about 25 minutes of Q&A, but it didn't feel like that. It was just a really nice time of engagement, wasn't it?
And I think it's also, we've had a chat about this, haven't we? I think maybe next year it will be something that we will repeat, maybe as well as doing, the traditional, if we can at that time, do both. Because it just allows people who maybe can't attend on that evening to be able to catch up and see things at a later date. Convenient for them.
Of course, what it does, like you say, is because it goes out on whatever channel you've put it out at, they can go back and watch it whenever they want. It's not, it's not something that is, because life's bonkers for everybody, isn't it? And you can't, even the in-person stuff, you can't always get there when you want to, and it means that maybe it's a little bit more inclusive in one sense as well, which is great. That's really cool.
Well, I've since over the past week or so, I've sent the link to the video, the recording of it, to quite a few parents that have been in touch saying, we'd like to have a look around, and we didn't get to see it live, so they've been able to catch up that way. So it's been useful. That's
really good. So on that, how's the feedback been from the community around school?
Yeah, it's been positive. I don't think we've had anything negative, have we?
No, it's been really positive, Ian. I mean, I think Sue's said something that I was going to pick on. We're all living in the world of catch-up TV, and box set binges, as much as your scheduled programs now on a weekly basis. I know the likes of EastEnders and Coronation Street and things like that, people are going to watch probably daily, but more of us than ever are watching those catch-up TV box sets, aren't they? And it's just like that for parents that perhaps couldn't make it on the evening. They get a much better feel for the school, the people, the buildings, etc., if we can capture it as we did last week. The other thing I would say from my point of view is you hosting it certainly takes the pressure off me and takes the pressure off us probably, and you carefully pulled out some of those questions. I presume, as if you were a parent, an aspirant parent of a child going to this school, these are the sort of common questions that I'm sure lots of parents ask. So fielding those and filtering those for a variety really did help, I think, get a good feel for the people watching. Whereas perhaps if you'd just started at the top and worked down the list, you're going to get similar questions, or those that perhaps are not as relevant.
Yeah, you do, and it's right. It just takes. I think anybody could do it, and I'm going to show folks around the kit that we use. So technically, it's not a hard thing to do. I think it just needs. It's a little bit of like juggling plates. So you just need a bit of practice to be able to kind of keep in a conversation while you're reading what some comments are and throw them around and try and lead the conversation. But I think somebody in school. So my feeling on it would be. So next year, for example, Sue, I think you wouldn't. I'm more than happy to, but I wouldn't. I think you'd be absolutely fine, kind of sitting in the kind of the studio environment, as it were, kind of controlling things. I think somebody in school could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I see it being next year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really important for you to have somebody in situ, as it were, that can go like, actually, I'm just going to manage the thing. And let's make it so it just keeps flowing, and it's really nice. Is there, before we kind of wrap up on this bit of stuff, is there anything you think that people should remember not to do? Any big boo-boos?
I'd say just keep an eye on your timings. Like I said, I think if you just go on for too long, I was really quite against us doing like holding a video camera and walking around school. I know other people do that, but to me, that was just the wrong thing to do. I think having a pre-prepared video for that was better.
So you had something done that you paid for, like a professional video, didn't you, to be done to use? That was it just a few minutes long, wasn't it? And then there was a longer one at the end.
Yeah, that was about 3 minutes, just showing the facilities, and then we had about 10 minutes that talked about the ethos of the school.
Interviews and all that kind of stuff in there as well, wasn't it? Yeah. I think that's a massive one. I think there's stuff. So your kind of head teacher's presentation's really important. hearing from different people, really important. Something short, like you say, nothing too long-winded in terms of any kind of videos you might play as part of it, but then really focus on the interaction. Was how I was, because that was my favorite bit, was the Q&A. Actually, it just really nailed it for me.
Yeah, and that Q&A would be going on all night in every classroom around school, with all the teachers, with all the prospective parents going on. So it was just a fraction. I think what I'd say is that I would agree with Sue. I think this sort of thing, alongside your traditional open evening, would be the perfect combination. But if I was a parent, or if I was as I used the analogy of a virtual tour, if you were buying a house, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I think they're really helpful. I think they're much better than looking at photographs in a brochure, whether that's in paper or online. And before that, they were advertised in the newspaper. But there is nothing to replace the going round the school and having a look for yourself and meeting the people face to face. I don't think many people would buy a house on just a virtual tour. I know some may do if you're buying abroad or whatever and you can't visit, but there's no substitute in that sense. But what the IT provides is that catch up, that capturing the moment and being able to share it with more people. The interaction was better than I thought we were going to get, Ian, and it did felt real. The banter with Emma, that you helped facilitate that. And almost orchestrated that in some way, and it helped everybody relax and have a bit of a laugh and a joke, but also for it to become much more lifelike and real in capturing the moment. Does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense. Yeah, it does. And I think, one of the sessions, just to mention that next week is our first ScudioCon. So we're doing an online virtual conference over 3 days. So a load of sessions in there. And I'm actually doing a session with an old friend called Paddy, who is, he's amazing from an online point of view, particularly around going live and that kind of stuff. And he's going to do a session with me on how you can do this kind of thing. Not so much from the technical side of stuff. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, but not so much from the technical side of stuff. More about how feeling confident in it and what it's actually like to do it, and knowing some of the things to kind of avoid and tips and tricks to make it so you kind of eased a bit. And that's really important. And then the person who is pressing the buttons in the background, just being confident enough and had enough practice in that, so that it feels, it does come to life. I think you're right. It's an important thing, but it is all about what you've all got as a school. Everything, if we talk about school websites and everything, we always talk about it's got to really reflect who you are as a school. Your virtual open evening's got to reflect who you are as a school. So creating this structure that brings all the most important elements together of what your school's about. So it's all about the people and it's all about the community. Of course, we're interested in what the buildings are like, etc. But painting that picture is really important, isn't it?
And that's what I would say. Don't try and be something virtually or online that you're not in reality on the ground.
Yeah.
My sort of leadership, my sort of style, this type of school, this type of culture is not for everybody. It really is relaxed. It's calm. It's friendly. Everybody says that about our school, but there's also a real rigor about the business, been teaching and learning, and standards about behaviour and expectations about uniform. This is just my personal view. You can do all that rather than being a sergeant major type old grammar school type culture. Yeah. And there are lots of schools like that, and lots of parents that want schools like that. But it's got to add up. So that you get the family, you get the families that buy into that ethos, that buy into that culture. It's not a question of right and wrong; it's a question of matching up. How do you want your children to be educated, and how do you want them to be brought up, and what sort of values are important to you? They're the choices that you need to be thinking about when you're picking the school.
Yeah. And actually, it does work as painting that picture, doesn't it? I think what was the other thing? I was going to say one other thing about, and you did this really well, actually, about anything we do online, absolutely anything. So we're thinking e-commerce, marketing, Facebook, whatever we're talking about, there's always got to be a next step or an action to take. And what happened at the end of the open evening we did online last week, whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, you had in next steps, didn't you? And you didn't want to lose that people could still come and look around school. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
It's just part of the package. You know, the open evening is a really important event, but it is only part of, you know, the package of the admissions process, really. So we spend time beforehand, you know, bringing up pupils, visiting us on a weekly basis for a year or so. And then leading up to the open evening, you know, we were advertising on social media for the event. And then afterwards, continue that advertising. Don't just drop it and pick up on, you know, the people that have got some interest. We've had people coming in for tours already this past couple of weeks, having a look around, wanting to see a little bit more, you know, actually seeing us in action. And it carries on really until the end of October when, you know, the deadline, the applications are closed. Yeah. So it is just part of the process.
That's good. That's really good. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Do you want to add anything else before I bid you farewell and I'll show people around systems and stuff like that? Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't regret it at all.
Good.
It went far better than I thought. For me personally, I think you've just got to have a mindset of, I'm talking to you right now, Ian, and Sue's in the room sitting across at me. And I'm not thinking that God knows how many thousand people might be watching this and scrutinizing what you're wearing and what's behind your desk and what's on the wall. And as soon as your mind starts wandering like that, I can't do it. I can't concentrate.
Yeah. That's really good advice. That really good.
And I think as ever, try and be yourself, whatever that might be. You know, I know I always talk too much. And I'm probably too relaxed and informal for some people as a head teacher, but that's who I am. And if you ask me staff, that's exactly who I am day in, day out. You're not trying to pretend to be somebody you're not, because you get caught out.
Yeah,
I was going to say exactly the same. Rather than reading a script, you know, Zav, you planned out what you wanted to say in your presentation, but you know, it just comes naturally to you, doesn't it? Rather than reading the script, and that comes across better than, you know, more naturally.
I think you've got to work on it. Sue's been training me up for this, Ian. Again, once we started the lockdown procedure, you know, Sue came up with this idea. Rather than sending a letter, writing a letter and putting it on the website for people to read, why don't you just do a little video and I'll post it on there? And we've done a good few now. In fact, we're falling into a rhythm of one a week at the moment, just trying to keep parents up to date with what's going on in school and responding to some of the local and national issues. And you know, the feedback we're getting is far greater. I think the engagement is probably far greater than giving a child a letter that for most will sit in the bottom of the bag until mum and dad clear out the butty box or the football boots or the trainers or whatever, the PE kit that's stinking and needs washing. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. I did start scripting, do you remember, Sue? And give up very quickly. Just be clear about the points you want to make. Cut to the chase and deliver them, really, because what do you say, Sue? Between 3 and 7 minutes. After that, people don't want to know, and even 3 minutes is a chore for some. I don't know, Ian. Do you have a view on that? But
no, I agree with that. It depends on what you're doing and what you're saying. You've got to be able to cover everything you need to cover. But yeah, it will. As get to the point, get on with it.
So you know, Sue's guided me and trained me through this for the last few months before turning up. I really didn't know what to expect. I just said, Sue, yeah, I'll go with it. We'll have a go.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I had absolute blast, and I know there's been so much really good, great feedback. If you look on your social channels where it all is, everybody there's so many good comments about school, but also about this is a really good way of doing it. So yeah, I think I'm with you in terms of massively encourage people to do it. Thank you both so much. I'm really grateful for that. I'm going to press some buttons and you'll disappear, and you can go back to the much more important stuff you've got to do, and I'll chat through some stuff. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Zav. Thank you, Sue.
No, thank you, Ian. Really appreciate what you've done, and you've done a great job for us.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Awesome. That was amazing. What a privilege to be joined by those two people. That's so cool. Love it. It was such a special time. I think what I'd really like to do is talk you through how we went to actually doing it in terms of delivering it. So I'm going to show you a few bits and bobs. So let me grab, first of all, I'm going to show you the bit of kit we use. Let's see if I got the right one. Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. So what I'm showing you here is let's see if I make that a bit bigger. Is that better there? There you go. This is the studio that we'll enter when we go into a product that's called StreamYard, and I'm going to include some links on how that will take you through to StreamYard and how you can actually get at it, because it's a really good piece of kit. So what it basically is it brings together what you're doing in terms of live streaming, and so if you're going out and you want to go out onto Facebook, you want to go out onto YouTube, if you want to go out onto LinkedIn. So we've got LinkedIn Live, which if you're on LinkedIn you'll be able to see that. But this is the platform we're using. So this is the bit of kit. So basically, what's going to happen is you're going to go in and you're going to click enter your broadcast studio, and you basically get a load of stuff here where you can very easily see everybody that's kind of come into your studio, and you can control. So if I go and add myself to stream, there I go, I've added myself to stream, so I know that that's how I'm displaying. So that's how I've got that set up now. This is a bit weird because I'm kind of running two at the same time now, so it's all really weird. But you've got options if you've got more than one person on, to show more than one person. If you're sharing your screen, you can control how it looks. Any comments that you're posting, you can make them appear here by just adding them. If somebody posts a comment on, if anybody's watching and wants to post a comment, I'll show you how it's done. But you can post a comment. If somebody posts a comment in Facebook or on YouTube, it will pop up here, and you can actually make them appear in front of people. It's a really good way if you're doing things like a Q&A. So, for example, if somebody had written a comment and it said, and you're doing your live Q&A, and you say something like, you know, what's the actual admissions process or whatever, then that can pop up on there for people to see it. You can also create your own banners. So I've got Mount Carmel questions, so ones that we knew about beforehand were already there, appearing, so already there for me to use for when we were doing the Q&A. So if it was a little bit dry and I wanted to get it moving, I could go things like really important ones: how do you deal with bullying? And I'll be on the stream with a couple of other people, and we'll answer those questions as and when they pop up. Yeah, so you can see, let's make it so you can't see me twice. It's bad enough you can see me once, isn't it? If I then go into brand, I've got a load of different controls, so I can make things like different banners appear. I'm just going to get rid of that question there. I can get different overlays, so it can look different depending on what I want to do. We use it for things like some of our membership stuff that we maybe take off, and we'll put different bits and bobs on. We put countdown videos, different backgrounds, change the brand, change the colors, all that kind of stuff, so you can make it look like your school branding. So that's all really good and really important, isn't it? Then you can have things like private chats. Private chats are really good, because what we did when we were live with Mount Carmel last couple of weeks ago, there was me, head teacher that you've just met, Zav. Sue wasn't on there, but year 7 year head was there, one of the governors, head boy, head girl, year 7 and a mum, somebody else who I think is in year 8. So there was like 6 or 8 things going on, plus videos to play. When that's all happening, there's obviously loads of stuff going on. But what you can do with private chat is anything where you can see here, you can chat privately with your guests. So we did things like when the children had been on, we said, oh, well done, did amazing, but we put it in there. while they were still around, kind of hanging around in the background down here. So that was all brilliant as well. If I just have a quick look in settings, hopefully you can see that that's popped up. Yeah, so this is going to control different bits. So you can control how your videos appear in, you can control which camera you're using, what audio you're using, you can do green screen behind you if you wanted to do green screen, and then different controls you've got for your guests there as well. What I'm just going to do really quickly is I'm just going to exit the studio because I just want to show you a little bit about how you can actually set the whole thing up, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what it's like to play with. This is a list of stuff that's kind of upcoming here, so you can see that we've got one live. If I go create, let's have a look, if I go create broadcast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick where I want it to appear. So any channels, any destinations you've added will appear. It's really dead easy to do. You give it a title, give it a description, you say whether it's public or private. Obviously, you want it to be public, then you can schedule it for later and put the date in. YouTube, you've got a bit of flexibility with. LinkedIn, same thing. Facebook, you can only do that within 7 days of when you're actually going to be going live, so just bear that in mind. And then here's where your destinations live. So adding a destination is also really simple. You just follow the instructions through here, and it's not tricky at all. So that's how that all works. Do you know, it's a really good piece of kit, StreamYard, and it's free. I've added a link there on YouTube and on Facebook. I will kind of pad that out, but what that is that will show that's how you can get into StreamYard and get in there, and it starts at free as well, so it's a really good bit of kit. Let me show you a couple of other things that you might want to consider doing, so bear with just a moment. I'm going to share something slightly different with you. This is a couple of different things that you might want to consider that you want to do as well. So for example, this is one of our school website clients. This is Ashton Sixth Form College, and they're using what we call our it's like a campus tour map, and you can do some really nice stuff with this as well. So you know when we said about what you maybe want to do afterwards, so after you've done your live stream broadcast, what do you want people to do? And this is one thing you might do. You might go, actually, I want you to have a little look around our campus virtually. If you haven't got any swanky video done, this might be a good option. It's quite easy to create something like this. We can offer it to folks if that's going to be helpful. What you can also do, these are just all images in here, I think, but what you can do is you can also embed YouTube videos into each of these pins and drop them on your map as well. So you can do some really nice stuff around that. And then if I just show you something else, again, just thinking about next steps. And again, I'm going to include some links for all these. I'll add them in the comments once we've finished, just so you've got them all. But what I really want to show you is something that is all about transition. I've used a different example. So Mount Carmel, so Stuart Mount Carmel's done exactly this as well. But I'm using a different example just to mix it up a little bit. So this is Millay School, and this is a platform where you can work through. So you would go get started now to get in, but you can build text, video, quizzes, bit of reading, downloads, all sorts of stuff, all about things. So you go getting ready to start, welcome back, you can have information about your equipment list, what a quiz that tests people's kind of knowledge of the kids before they start high school, about what you need to bring each day, information about traveling to school, what to expect on your first day. And you can mix this up with documents and video and quizzes and reading and all sorts of stuff. And again, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to I'll put some links on which that give you, I'll do that as soon as we come off so that you've got them, which are how to access some of these bits of kit, because they're really good, and they all start at completely free, so you can get straight in there, and it's not going to cost you the earth to actually do some stuff, because that's really important. Schools are time poor and money poor, completely get that. So as much as possible, let's let's try and make it so the stuff isn't costing the earth. But these bits of kit are really good for if you want to go really far. So that example I've just shown you at Malay is a platform which is built for online courses, but it's really, really good if you want to do, once people have maybe been offered a place at school, actually go through a process of online transition. It does not, it was put in place for this year because obviously situations are maybe slightly different, but actually if you think and look for next year, yeah, hopefully things are going to be so that you can have people actually in school and you can do transition face to face, which is so important. But actually, if you can have it so that a load of stuff is available and on demand for people to engage with, then hooray. And that example that I showed you, you can do some really cool stuff with it because you can collect data. So you can do things like, if you go, actually, what stuff, who are you? We've got a bit of blurb, but actually, what are you interested in? What clubs are you interested in? What are your extracurricular stuff? Blah, 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 blah. That's, you can do some amazing stuff on there. Chantal's just popped up, who is from Malay. How exciting. What have you just done? What have you done? Oh, what have you done? You've launched the latest one for Virtual Open Day 2. Okay, that's brilliant. So what I'll do, we'll bring all that together and I'll make a little list of links that are going to be really helpful. Chantal, that's amazing. Bravo. We'll take a look. That's really cool. If you've got any questions, then feel free to whiz any questions up now. I think when I start to kind of maybe wrap it up a little bit, do you know what's so important is actually just, you said it a little while ago when we were chatting about how important it is for you to, through your website and everything that you put out, really paint an accurate, rich picture of life in school. Yeah, it's so important. That's what your website's there for. It's so true of your open evening stuff as well. And I hope that the kit makes it possible for you to do that. Just a few things, I guess, to say as we kind of wrap up. I'll see if there's any questions pop up, but I will answer them afterwards if we don't get a chance to answer them now. First things to say, next week is ScudioCon, which is our online, our first online conference, which is exciting, all around school websites, engagement, GDPR, compliance, all sorts of cool stuff. Really cool speakers come in. So my friend Rob Balas Abbas, who is from TubeBuddy, he's going to be around doing a session on how you can create a really good YouTube channel for schools. Awesome. My friend Paddy McGill is going to be talking about, I mentioned him earlier actually, but he's going to be helping on how you can learn how to be confident doing this kind of stuff, especially around open evenings. So it's super important. So let me just ping up a link here for that, because that's free, by the way. There are VIP tickets, because there's VIP tickets, but there you go. That's the link to the schedule that's happening, and we may even be adding some more talks as well, but some really cool stuff there. But basically, you can come along and watch as many of those sessions and join us for that for no cost at all. I hope that's been so helpful. Thanks for the comments. It's really good to see so many of you joining here. Lovely to see you. I hope that's been somewhat helpful. If you want to get in touch with me, and my email address is ian@scudio.com, and I would love to hear from you and chat this through in any more detail, and I'm more than happy to help if you'd like some help with running some crazy live open evening sessions as well. But thank you so much, and take care, and we'll see you soon.